if you don't have yoga bricks, and I know a lot of you have books for sure, I want to do an opening practice where you put blocks or books under that spot you just described, Katerina, like right between the shoulder blades. So I'm going to turn my camera so you can see the floor of my mat more clearly and just show you the setup. So Sophie, if your lower back is still sensitive, or Barbara, if you're feeling tender, a blanket underneath the pelvis and the sacrum is helpful. The block, you have the option of starting with one flat and one on its side. So if you're using books, you'll want to kind of pile the books up. Now, books are even more, the corners are going to be sharper on a book. So if you are using books instead of yoga blocks, take a really thin towel or blanket and just put it on top so that you are not feeling the sharp edges so clearly when you lie down on the blocks, or the books rather. So take a moment and just watch me for your screen and watch first how to get into the pose. Come onto the elbows first. And I'll push into the blanket and push into the ground to scoop my pelvis and flatten a bit through the lower back. And I'm rolling slowly. And I'm moving my body onto the block rather than trying to push the block around underneath. So if it's too far up or down my back, then I'm going to move to get my body in the right position. And then I'll hold my head for the rest of the way down and make sure that I get the block securely under me. Now this block, for this practice today, it's under the shoulder blades. So the shoulder blades are stacked onto it, but rather than pinching the shoulder blades more together, which would accentuate the back bend, I want you to do the opposite, reaching under and pulling the shoulder blades away from each other, and then bring the shoulder blades down right onto the block. Knees can come together, or if your lower back is not very sensitive today to back bending and it feels okay for you, you're welcome to straighten the legs. And I would cover the eyes for this opening. So that's the setup. So whatever you put under your head needs to be higher than what you place under your shoulder blades. And I'll turn your microphones off so it's easier for you to hear me. And you can always wave if you have a question or you need me to take a look at something. And then just one of my students on the workshop just pointed out that I am recording these sessions, and I'm not ever going to release the video images of you guys doing practice. I might edit the sound so that my voice can be used for an audio class, but I want you to know that you're not being recorded for future use of any kind. Just in case you saw the recording in the corner and thought, what is she doing? That's what I'm doing. I'm hoping to do a sound mix and start releasing some audio classes. So the block is right under the shoulder blades. Do you want to try it this way, Barbara? Because I think you have it a different way, because there are a lot of different ways of lying on the blocks. I would say maybe less under the head, Katerina. I think that that's going to be too high. Yeah, that looks better. So peeling the shoulder blades apart, if you didn't do that yet, by reaching your fingers underneath you. So Barbara, your block is under the shoulder blades, as in towards the pelvis, and I would like it so your shoulder blades are on top of the block. So bring it up your back. Even more. Even more. So really your shoulder blades are on the brick instead of coming off the brick in any way.
So it should feel like a very gentle opening if you're experiencing a sense of opening along the chest. If you're experiencing the pressure from lying on the shoulder blades, that should also be gentle. And if it's too sharp, then see if you can move around a little bit or add a towel or a blanket or something soft under you to make it more comfortable so we can stay here for a little bit and breathe with this shape. Taking the time right now to acknowledge that you have made it onto your yoga mat today, which is so important. Perhaps more important even than our ability to do the yoga poses is this commitment or discipline to simply getting to the practice. And as you acknowledge that you're here to practice, take some time to check in for yourself to get a deeper sense of how you're feeling. To notice your emotional state in an honest way, building an intimate relationship with yourself. Looking at how you feel, even if what is there is difficult. And based on how you're feeling, your energy level, your emotions, the state of your body right now, based on all the information that you have, the awareness that you are cultivating, set a personal intention, a sankalpa that really speaks directly to your state this evening. As a theme for the practice, and if it resonates for you, you can bring it into your personal intention. As a theme, I'd like us to work with the idea of respecting every experience. Respecting the challenging moments during the practice and respecting the easier moments. Just as we learn to respect ourselves within the poses, regardless of a sense of achievement, can we be more respectful of all the different colors that encompass the practice so that in life we can be respectful of all of the different perspectives and experiences that we might encounter ourselves or through hearing other people's experiences. I think respect is very different than agreement. We don't need to necessarily agree with others. We don't necessarily like every yoga pose every minute that we try it, but having respect for other perspectives. Let's start with that. And here in this pose, deepen your breath. How does the shifting of the breath change the feeling of the pose? What are you more aware of or less in touch with physically when you bring the breath lower into the body so the belly starts to fill? The abdomen really changes in pressure. When you focus on that change, how does it affect you? Give yourself a couple more breaths to explore that. And then take your time continuing to work with a deep breath, staying with the rhythm of what your breath is, and simply reaching your arms up towards the ceiling. So the fingertips are reaching towards the ceiling. And holding the hands shoulder width apart like you're holding a giant beach ball of sorts, straightening the elbows. As you breathe in, reach the arms higher towards the ceiling so you feel the shoulder blades move under you. And then as you exhale, pull the shoulder blades slightly down into the brick or the books. Good. Inhale, reach again. And then exhale, coming down. So a couple more of these. We're just working with protracting and retracting the shoulder blades. Those are the fun anatomical terms for the way your shoulder blade is moving. Shoulder blades move open and away from each other as the arms reach up. Shoulder blades move slightly together as the arms come back down. Good. One more. And then keeping the arms reaching up, on the next inhale, reach the arms back behind you and keep a tension and energy in the shoulders where your arm bones don't flop to the ground. So maybe they don't go as far as they would if you let go completely. Hug the shoulder blades slightly together. Think about the arm bones hugging into the shoulder socket. And stay there, straighten the elbows, take another breath. Loosen the jaw. And if the legs are straight, bend them now so that on your next exhale, you're able to engage your abdominal muscles to help bring the arms back where they started. Exhale, the belly helps the arms start to move back to the center. And then inhale, reaching back, still engaging with the muscular energy necessary to have this feeling of stability in the shoulder socket. And then exhale, using the belly and the breath to guide the arms back to center. Beautiful. So this is the pattern. Keep the hands with palms facing in, again, like you're holding on to some kind of beach ball. Notice if the shoulders are hunching towards the ears, and allow the sense of shoulders softening away from the ears, back of the neck to feel long. Give this 2 more goes, moving with your breath. With the last one, notice a little more if the arms move simultaneously or if one is faster. Try to match them so they move evenly. And then on the next breath, bring the arms back to the floor and open them out like a T. So the arms are wide now onto the floor. Elbows down, back of the hand down, palm facing up. Notice this feeling. You're welcome to bend the elbows slightly if that feels more comfortable for your shoulders and the front of the chest. See if you can simply breathe here and let the arms completely relax. Let the breath remain active. So exhaling, the belly does engage a bit more. However, we're not flattening the back or moving the pelvis. We're just feeling the movement of the diaphragm and the abdominal muscles and the lungs. How the ribs expand on the inhale like an accordion, And on the exhale, how it all hugs back together. Give yourself 2 more breaths like this. And then I'd like you to really gently roll to your left side. And just move the books or blocks away so you can roll directly back onto the floor with nothing under your head, neck, and shoulders. You can keep the blanket where it is under the pelvis, that's okay. But I want you to experience now the difference when the blocks are removed. Is there more space? Is there an easier breath movement in the upper back, in the shoulder blade area? Check that out. And the next time that you are feeling tense in that part of the body or feeling that it's difficult to take a deep breath, maybe lying down with your books or your bricks for simply 1 or 2 minutes can make a difference. So take another moment and just let that really imprint in your mind and your body that this doesn't take a lot of time to make a difference. It's a tool that's available to you. And then on your next exhale, hug your right knee in towards your chest and press your left leg onto the floor, straightening it out, heel pushing towards the front of the room. I prefer to hold the back of the thigh, but you're welcome to do it the other way if that's your preference. For me, when I hold the back of the thigh on that right leg, I'm really able to pay more attention to my hip socket and the movement there. So before you hug the knee inward, pause and push your thigh bone into your hands. So maybe bring your knee a little away from your body to do this. So you're going to hold the hands at the back of the thigh with the knee bent and just push your femur bone a little bit into your hands as strongly as you're comfortable with. And so we're moving the thigh bone away from the top of the hip socket. And then on the next exhale, let the knee come in and see if it feels better in your hip. Give me a thumbs up if you felt a difference that was positive. Give me a thumbs sideways if you felt no change, or a thumbs down if it feels worse in any way. Just so I can see how that adjustment helped you. Same for you, okay. Let's stay here for 1 more breath with this side. And then on the next exhale, you'll take it across the body. Knee comes across into a twist, a simple twist. Now, if you have anything going on with your facet joints, your sacrum is unstable, any of that jazz happening for you, please don't push the knee to the floor. Use blankets, bolsters, your bricks, something under your knee so you're not torquing your spine and irritating any of those joints. Once you come into the twist that's appropriate for your spine, then slide your shoulder blades more open from each other on the floor. You can once more reach across your chest and dig your fingertips in, kind of wiggle out the upper back. Give it some space. And then choose whether it feels more comfortable for your neck to look away from the leg or to look towards it. Either way, wherever you're looking with the direction of the head and the eyes, tuck the chin slightly and lengthen the back of your neck. Give yourself 2 more active breaths here. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, feel the belly hug in, and maybe from that belly action, there's a little more twist available. Last breath as you are. And then use the exhale, engage with the belly, and bring the knee up to center, roll to your back. And we'll switch sides. So taking the left knee in, before you hug the knee all the way in, reach your fingers and interlace them at the back of your thigh and press the thigh into the hands so that you're drawing the femur bone away from the top of the hip socket, making a little space around the hip flexors. And then keeping that space, you can now bend the knee and come into deeper hip flexion, bringing the knee towards the left breast. So not going all the way off to the side and rolling off the center of your sacrum, but really trying to maintain this lovely central line through the sacrum and the back of the head, even as the leg comes in. Good, you guys. Continue pressing through the right heel so that your right leg feels strong on the floor. One more very active breath here. And then allow that leg to come over with your next exhale. Set your props up accordingly to protect the spine. If you have any injuries or imbalances or sensitivities that you're dealing with. Once you find the comfortable position for your twist, adjust the shoulder blades, make room in the upper back so that you have more contact from between the shoulder blades into the floor. And then choose which direction you're looking, using exhale to turn your head away. So we like the exhales to be twisty in yoga twists and the inhales to be lengthening. Loose jaw, no pressure between the teeth. Coming back to your sankalpa, this personal intention for yourself, and also the ability to respect the experience of this pose, not trying to overwork or underwork, but part of respect is finding your middle way. Last deep breath here. And then use an exhale that engages with the abdomen to come back to center, and then take both knees into the chest. Give yourself a hug, rock side to side if that feels nice on the back. Circle the legs if that feels better. Take your time, sync up with your breath. Breath initiates the movement, which means there will be pauses in any circular movement. There's going to be a pause if the breath is really guiding it, because there's always a pause between inhale and then a pause before exhale. If you're circling, going to the other direction with your circles. Take a few more breaths, circling here, massaging and breathing towards the lower back. And then bring your feet back down. If you have a blanket, shift it so that your feet can come to the mat. We're going to do some bridging. So my new favorite bridge move is this upper back tractioning. We've done it a few times. So if you feel that you have a good grip with your socks, you can leave them on. I would generally recommend that socks come off so that you can really feel your feet working onto the mat. Setting up for a smooth, gentle bridge on the exhale, pressing into the feet, scooping the pelvis, and then inhale, lifting the pelvis. Coming up into your bridge. Take the first one quite gently and just let the shoulder blades be where they are as you first lift the hips. Don't wiggle them about too much yet. And now we're going to reach the right arm back onto the floor next to your ear. Great. And very active with the heels, very strong scoop in the pelvis. Exhale, roll your spine down, starting all the way at the feeling that the head rolls down slowly. Even though the head's already on the floor, can you release the whole spine bit by bit? Once the pelvis lowers, then bring the arm back. Starting again on an exhale, press the feet, scoop the pelvis. And then inhaling, lift the pelvis, so you're in bridge. Arms are by the sides, both arms by the sides. Bring your arm back down, Barbara. Put the arm right by your side so the shoulder blade will slide under you. Barbara, can you bring your hands closer to your hips? Because your arm is quite far out, yeah. And then second arm reaches back on the next inhale. Arm stays on the floor, exhale, roll down so slowly. Take your time. When the pelvis returns to the floor, then return the arm and start again. Finding again the breath initiating the rhythm of your movement. Once you're up into a comfortable bridge, add in one arm. Roll out of it very slowly. So we're tractioning the upper back. We're bringing more space between the vertebrae. Lovely. One more. And then we'll end with the arms by the sides and the pelvis still lifted in bridge. So come back up to bridge after you've finished with the arm on the second side. And from there, you have a choice. You can either take your block or your pile of books that is hopefully right next to you, and you can put that underneath your pelvis, or you can stay more active in the legs and skip the block. I want to work on the upper back a little bit. So what makes bridge pose, a traditional bridge pose, really helpful in opening the chest and releasing tension from the top of the shoulder is the action of scooping your shoulder blades under you, kind of rolling your shoulders down and into the mat and together. So we actually pull the shoulder blades together. From there, as you press your pelvis up, I want you to notice if you feel the skin kind of drag down at the top of the shoulder. You're looking for this moment where the skin drags away from the ears. Do you feel that? Give me a little finger wave if you're feeling that. Okay. I think, Sophie, you have to go higher to feel it, and I don't know if you have too many layers with your sweatshirt. You might not feel it because of your sweatshirt. So now you can take the more traditional position of interlacing the fingers and pressing the outer edge of your wrist, the wrist bone, we often call this. Want to press that down into the floor so that you get more sensation through the shoulders and the chest. And the rib cage pulls up as the arm bones press down. Good. So staying with your breath, connected to the sensations in the lower back, not coming up so high that you compromise or compress the low back. So Sophie, rather than bending your elbows, really reach your fingers and your elbows straight. And then press your elbows down and bend them. I'm giving you an alternative since you're using the block on a low setting. Yes. And then pushing the arms down into the floor, Sophie, lift the chest. Do you feel more in your shoulders now? Cool. Great. Give yourself one more breath here. Katerina, maybe your feet could walk a little bit closer to you, so small, like a few millimeters. And then a little bit wider apart from each other. And straighten your feet. It looks like your toes are going out to the sides. Yes. Do your legs feel stronger? Relax the arms. If they're interlaced, move the fingers apart and then open the arms away. And then roll yourself down so slowly, moving blocks and books out of the way first. Drag your spine down so you feel that lengthening process, and maybe again the skin drags a little bit. Arms soft, legs working really hard to scoop the pelvis strongly to the last moment. And then take a couple resting breaths. Put your hands on your belly when the pelvis is down. Close the eyes. Breathe here. Keep the hands on the belly. Open the feet to the very edges of the mat so the feet are quite wide. As you take the next exhale, let the knees gently fall over to one side. Again, you might need a block or a book under a knee. So protecting the spine and protecting the knee by adding props. Take a breath there. Let the legs relax. Keep the breath active. On the next exhale, take the knees up and over to the other way, other direction. If your hands are in any way asymmetrical, switch them now. Take a couple breaths here, relaxing the legs, staying active with the breath. One more breath like this. And then we're going to come back to center on exhale and then keep going. So you'll start to windshield wiper the knees. The slower you move, the more you might feel a massage around your sacrum by pressing into the ground. And also, I'd like you to find and stay with the rhythm of your breathing as you shift the legs side to side. But I find this can be a really great way of not only massaging the area around the sacrum, but as the leg comes down, we are affecting the intestinal area. So doing the Apanasana, hugging the knees in, and the circling of the legs that we started with, the one knee at a time, Eka, Pada, Apanasana, those are great poses for helping soothe the digestive system. Give yourself a couple more breaths here. If it's fun or interesting, you can think about your digestive system as the legs move over. You can sense not just the muscular effect, but also how does this shift through your organs. And then the next time that you go to one direction, follow your eyes and turn to that side, and then come gently up onto your hands and your knees from the side. You can set your books or bricks towards the top corners of the mat, and for sensitive knees, feel free to have a blanket under your knees. We'll start in tabletop, knees under hips, hands under shoulders. Widen up the fingers and press down through all of the knuckles. Take the outer upper arm and roll it back towards the wall behind you. And as you next exhale, scoop through the pelvis into cat pose, lifting the belly. Again, this can be like a massage for the intestines and the abdominal organs. As you inhale, think about giving the belly space and opening the chest. Draw the shoulders away from the ears, back of the neck long. Exhale, cat. So Bidhalasana, cat cow. Keep going. Your breath rhythm initiates the movement. So enjoy and respect the pauses between the movements. part of that respecting the body process includes waiting until your lungs are really empty before you shift. So let the lungs find the inhale rather than the pose rhythm enforcing the inhale. Good. For most of us, this means that we stay a little longer in cat pose. See if that feels right for you. Emptying the lungs for your cat pose. One more just like this. And then continuing to feel into massaging the abdomen as well as releasing and stretching the low back. Bring your knees together and exhale, cat pose into a halfway child's pose or a full child's pose without moving the hands. Inhale, coming back up. We'll do it 2 more times. Exhale, strong scoop in the pelvis so the belly gets pressure as you press back, and you might stop if halfway is a better stretch. Inhale, coming up, table pose, shoulder blades drop down the back. Exhale, rounding into child's pose, or halfway if that's an easier position to feel the stretch. Inhale, come up to center, and now walk your knees to the very left edge of your mat. Take the feet off to the side like a mermaid tail. Exhale, round again as you press the pelvis towards the heels so that you're keeping the hand pressing down and stretching the side of the back. Inhale, come up. Walk the knees together at the middle. Exhale, one more time to the center. Scoop and press back. Inhale, find table. Still breathing in, knees move to the right edge of the mat, feet come off like a tail. Exhale, round and press back. Side stretching child's pose. Hands feel glued to the mat, pelvis scoops a lot. Inhale, come back up to the center. We'll make a little change here. As you move your left knee to the center, pick your right knee up towards your chest. Cross it over so you have stacked knees, and then exhale back. You can open the feet widely if that's comfortable in your hips. So now we're opening along the outer rotators of the hips. Inhale, come up, uncross the knee, and then exhale, cross the other knee on top and press back, opening the feet as you press back. So there's a space for your pelvis to move into. Inhale, come back up, pick up the knee, change the knees on your exhale. Continue exhaling and press back. This time we're gonna stay. So make yourself more comfortable, pressing all the way back or feeling free to stay at any halfway point that gives you the most control over the sensations of stretching into where you want to stretch, the outer hips, the lower back. Good. On the next breath, we'll come up through the inhale, and then as you exhale, change legs. Still breathing out, scooping the belly up and pressing back. Good. Couple breaths here. One more active breath as you are. And then inhale to rise. Change the legs so that they are hip distance apart. Tuck your toes and use the next exhale for a downward facing dog, coming up and back. Taking your time, finding the pressure through all of the knuckles, especially pressing with the thumb and the first finger. And from there, allowing your outer upper arms more rotation, pulling back. So the shoulder blades feel evenly spaced, not pressing 100% together, nor pulling 100% apart, but you're finding the place where your shoulder blades are integrating into the back in order to lengthen the neck, in order to find space at the tops of the shoulders, the trapezius area. Feel free to bend the knee for longer on one leg and then switch with the next breath. So take your time here. Use the next couple of breaths to come towards even legs. Feel free to keep both knees slightly bent if that's giving you more access to lifting the sit bones and pulling back through the pelvis. One more breath as you are. And then use the next exhale to walk your hands backward to your feet. Take an Uttanasana, feet hip distance apart. Now, options to hold the elbows and let this become more of a shoulder blade drawing towards the ground sensation, so that you focus instead of on the backs of the legs, you bring the focus to the draping of the shoulders and a release of tension from the back. Another option that I like sometimes is to actually bend the knees more and press my belly onto my thighs, so that the contact of my belly on my thighs continues with this abdominal massaging theme, and also would give you a lot of stretch and release for the neck and the shoulders. So you might want to test or taste those options, especially if you've never tried them before. You're welcome to stay with it or go back to any version of Uttanasana that you want to work on. Give it a couple more breaths. And then walk your hands back to the front for another downward facing dog. Use the whole hand, feel the shoulders moving. I think this is going to be the most intense part of our class, what's coming up now. If it's too intense for you, you're welcome to do this with your knees down from tabletop. So we're going to draw the right leg back on inhale. Keep the hips level. And as you exhale, bring the knee to the nose and try to get your thigh to really press into your belly and round your back and stay there. Stay. Take one breath in. See if you can really get your thigh to push on your belly. And then inhale, reach back. Reach the leg back, breathing in, hips square. Good. And then one more like that. As you exhale, try to get your thigh really onto your belly. Good. Stay one more breath. Belly hugs to spine, thigh hugs to belly. And then inhale, reach back again. Long through the leg, released through the hip flexor area. And now exhale, using the belly once more, bring the foot all the way forward into a pigeon pose. So bring your knee towards your right knee towards your right wrist, and then come down onto your back knee. If it's a challenging pose for you, put some blocks underneath you, put a bolster underneath you. That doesn't necessarily make it easier in sensation, but it will make it easier to find good alignment. So pigeon pose, going right into the outer hip, the external rotators, looking at how even your sacrum feels behind you, how straight the back leg is. Let's take an adjustment for ourselves moment. Take your left hand, reach back. You can watch me if you need to see. I'm going to take a hold of the inside of the thigh, the inner thigh.
And I'm going to help by helping spin up. I'm going to grab my thigh and pull up. And that helps me rotate internally. The muscular action on the back leg is internal rotation. And then I can look back and see a lovely straighter line for my back leg. If it's comfortable for you, come onto your elbows and your forearms. Maybe stack your fists or grab another prop and put something under your forehead here. So especially if you feel loose in your ligaments, if you just are someone with looser ligaments, or if you're near ovulation or menstruation and you know your hormones are creating looser ligaments right now, you might engage your muscles hugging in and stabilize your pelvis, which is the opposite of what you would do if you have the desire to just go deeply into the stretch. So I want you to really gauge what's more appropriate for your body type, even if it's not what's kind of your stretch junkie desire. If you've ever felt addicted to stretching, then this might be the time to kind of hug in and back off a little bit. I'm speaking as someone who has been addicted to stretching at many points in my life. One more breath here. And then we're going to stay with the legs here. And I'd like you to walk your hands towards the right. So you're going to pick the chest up as much as you need to get over to the right. And then think about lying your belly out and down onto your thigh. So you extend the spine and get that contact of the belly on the thigh. Once more, if possible, rest the forehead down into the floor, your hand, your arm, a yoga prop, a book. And if it feels good for you, as you strengthen the back leg, back thigh, very active, back foot pressing into the floor, you might reach your left arm a little more and find a side bend action for this, so that the intercostal muscles, the muscles between the ribs, get some more space and length. Good. Now, if you want to take a little more direction for this stretch, if the back muscles want more of a stretch, put the smallest tilt into the pelvis and rounding into the back, so that instead of tensing the back muscles, you start to stretch specifically the quadratus lumborum, the QL muscle that attaches at the back of the pelvis and then up into the spine at about T12, L1. So if you can kind of hug the belly in and round, you might find the ability to stretch that line, that muscle area. Give yourself one last breath here. Steady, slow breath. Then take your time to release the pose. Bring the hands first, centered under your shoulders. Activate the belly with a strong exhale. Lift from the guts to pick the leg up and stretch it back, three-legged dog. Stretching the right leg back behind you. Maybe give it a shake. Shake it out if that feels good. And then come with both feet to the mat so that you can pause in downward dog and feel the difference. There will be some change that you could perceive in the two sides of your body. What are those changes? What are the sensations now? And then deeply respecting the experience of this side, we're going to shift into the second side. So if you need to go a little bit slower or more gently with this side, taking care, inhale, the left leg comes back. And as you exhale, hug the knee to the chest and really try to press your thigh and your belly together. Stay for a steady breath.
Good. And then inhale, reach back. Extend the legs, square the hips. And then exhale again, knee to nose. Hug the thigh against the belly. Try to get a contact there of thigh against the belly. And then inhale, reach back. And from here, slowly exhale, bring your knee forward all the way this time into pigeon pose on the second side. So finding your pigeon, again, if you'd like to put props underneath, do so that you can find the alignment and our self-adjustment of reaching. Now you're going to reach your left arm back, take a hold of the inner thigh, and pull that area up. So the other hand, Katarina, reach your other hand back. I think it's easier. Yeah. And pull up. And then with that spiraling action, so the inner thigh on the extended right leg is spinning up towards the sky. Find your comfort zone where you have just the right amount of discomfort to feel the stretch is healthy. And again, if you're lax in the ligament department, the hugging in, the stabilizing, muscular effort to keep the joints protected. Where's your breath? How is it moving? If the discomfort level of the stretch is too intense and it creeps into your shoulders, how can you shift the pose or simply relax the shoulders and see if you can manage to channel what you're feeling through your breath rather than allowing tension to build in another part of the body. Last breath, just as you are right here. And then on the next breath, I'd like you to inhale long spine. And as you exhale, you're walking the hands towards your front knee and then lying the belly out and down onto the thigh itself. So we once more have feeling of belly pressing against the thigh. Barbara, if that's too deep, then you can add blankets between your belly and your thigh so that you still get the pressure without having to actually lower your chest. Which might feel really nice. Check it out. Cool. Again, if you want to find that side bending action, really anchor through the pelvis. So even more than before, activate that inner thigh spiraling towards the sky, which will help your right frontal hip point reach towards the floor. So that hip needs to stabilize for you to move in arc away from it. Caroline, let your knee come back to the floor if possible. Yeah, and work rather than just lifting the knee, think about rolling your right hip towards the ground a little more. And then see if you can feel the pelvis is steady there and you arc the rib cage and reach the right arm to find the side bend, the intercostal lengthening. And once more, if you want to focus on the back of the body rather than just the side, you can find a little rounding or a slight flexion in the spine, a little feeling of scooping with the pelvis. You can play with these micro movements to find the stretch where you need it. The key is that they're micro, they're not huge, injurious actions. They're really small and subtle enough that you can taste the difference. Give yourself one more breath for this pigeon variation. And then use an in-breath to rise. Walk the hands back to steady under your shoulders on your mat. Very active in the belly to lift your thigh up and reach the leg back behind you for a shaking out three-legged dog. Shake it out. And then gently come down into a child's pose. Options: knees wider, more focus on continuing to release the hip area, knees together, more focus on the abdomen and the belly getting massaged, which is also very therapeutic for the lower back muscles. So belly and lower back, your knees are together, hips, your knees are wider. And again, you can taste those options and see if you can feel the difference or which one seems better for balancing your body. So we all have the tendencies to be more open in certain areas, tighter in others. Can you use your practice right now to create balance by respecting the first line of resistance that you feel and maybe taking the version of the pose that will be helping the tighter areas to loosen and not just pushing more into areas that are already loose. One more breath here. Then walk your arms forward so you extend your child's pose. And lift your chest just enough that you can press your elbows into the floor. So come up and away from your legs a little bit and press the elbows down. Have the elbows directly under your shoulder blades. Good. And then, no, that didn't quite work. Bring the elbows further up the mat. So where you guys were before, there we go. Press the elbows down. Bring the hands together like a prayer pose, Anjali Mudra. Keep the elbows down and return to child's pose or Anahatasana, heart opening pose. The elbows stay down, the hands come up, and the forehead comes towards the floor, so that we now shift towards the shoulder blades and upper back as the focus. So you have to come up and then back to find the shift towards the shoulder blades. It's not working for you, come back up, walk your elbows a little further forward, make sure they're sticking to your sticky mat. Get the elbows sticking down into the sticky mat, then move back and press the chest softly towards the floor. One more breath here. Then use your next inhale to relax the arms and come up. And I want to show you something that I find really useful for that space between the shoulder blades, getting a release, which is a restorative twist. So I prefer that the restorative twist is done on an angle where one block is high, one block is low, and the bolster is on its side with this shape. But if you don't have the right props and things to make that possible tonight, then I would be fine if you want to take it flat. But it needs to be pretty elevated. It could be a couch cushion. It could be some pillows rolled up in a yoga mat. I'd like it to have a smooth surface. And I'll show it to you now before you start wandering about your apartments looking for more props. So if my sacrum is unstable, which it generally often is, again, the loose ligament situation that you might be dealing with if it changes with your hormones. Know that on a looser day, more space, so that when I come into the twist, my pelvis is going to move quite a lot. And I'm lying my belly onto the bolster and then resting my arms. So if I'm not too loose in the sacrum and I want to feel the twist more intensely, then I'm going to get right up against the bolster. And it's just like an active twist in the way I come into it. Inhale, long spine. Exhale, I'm going to pull my belly and come towards the bolster. Now here's the change. Watch, please. Inhale, longer spine. Exhale, I'm going to stay here and really pull all the air out, press all the air out. And I'm going to take my hands onto my belly and help to not only feel like I'm pushing the air out of the lungs, but I'm literally pressing my belly flesh in and around to help me really spiral into that twist. And I think the more you get your abdomen onto and getting pressure from the support, the better it feels. Now, if you are a really thin person and you're like, but I have no belly flesh to move and I can't get anything up on here, then take a blanket and fold it so that it can go around you like an obi from a kimono. And pull on it so that when you do that, and I'm going to talk you through the breath because it's different than some other breath techniques. When you do come into it, you're pulling. And not only are you pulling with the blanket, but then the blanket gives you more to press against, which is great. Okay? So restorative twist, we'll just do a few minutes on each side. We won't stay for 10 minutes on each side. And then I'll let you go into your own shavasanas after this. So let's start with the left. Bring your left hip up towards the edge of your bolster. So your hip is either a couple centimeters away, giving more space for the sacrum, or your hip is right up against it. Sophie, bring your blocks closer to you, because the edge that you're going to lie your belly on should have something harder underneath it so it doesn't fall to the floor. Yeah. And actually, one more thing, sorry, Sophie, turn your blocks the other way so that they're longer and they support more of your thing, your cushion. Yeah, great. Cool. I'm loving your setups. You guys are doing great with the creative other stuff in the house. Caroline, maybe you could bring your bolster a little lower and the first block that's closest to you up the mat a bit. No, same shape it had. Just move it farther away from your body. Move it towards the other block. Great. So that the edge of the bolster is going to come to the floor a little more. So I'll show you. These bolsters are tricky because they're so firm. So I want the end of the bolster on the ground, right? So you kind of have to press on it. Better. All right, let's do the breathing together. Are you all ready? Inhale to lengthen your spine. Exhale, feel the belly coming in and turn towards your bolster. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, pulling your blanket or pressing your belly. Push all the air out. And when your lungs are totally empty, you've pressed all the air out, then bring the belly up the bolster and around so that you are fully twisted. Turn the head in any direction that feels good for your neck. You can go with or in the opposite direction of your knees. Let the arms rest on the ground. Bring the pressure off the bottom ear by turning to only have a small twist in the neck, lowering the chin and pressing against the outer cheeks and the ear feeling free underneath you. breathing here and just feeling how the breath and the abdomen press into the bolster, giving a massage to the muscles of the upper back and the lower back. To release this side, gently inhale the hands under the shoulders, press into the floor, continue inhaling and rise up. Turn away from the bolster, straighten the legs, and change sides. Setting up for the second side, arranging your props for stability and contact. Inhale to lengthen the spine. Exhale, twist the belly towards the spine, chest towards the bolster, and then stay, inhale again. And then exhaling to press the belly flesh around to use the blanket, empty the lungs fully, and spin your belly into the twist as you lie it up the bolster, coming down to rest. Resting with your bottom ear free, tucking the chin so the back of the neck is comfortable, closing the eyes, staying with a sense of sensation. What are the sensations of this pose? The shifting pressure in the abdomen as you breathe here. Exiting this pose with an inhale, hands under shoulders, rising up as you breathe in. I think that there's something about the movement of the rib cage with the movement of the shoulder blades that twists can, it's funny, most of us don't think of twists when we think, oh, my shoulder blades are holding a lot of tension, but I do find that twists are really effective in the middle of the back and the upper back.
Yep.
And the middle of the back is sometimes what's pulling the shoulder blades together. So please keep doing those poses if you like them. And one option for those of you that still have the setup, like Caroline and Sophie and Katerina, you haven't moved your bolsters, you can either take your legs up the slanted bolster, Caroline, and do a version of Viparita Karani that's one of my favorites, where you belt your legs to the bolster and you're on an angle instead of a straight line. I love that, just elevating the legs, Shavasana, with that style of bolster setup. Or if any of you are feeling like you really want to go for chest opening, you can lie back on the bolster and set up a restorative back bend as your Shavasana. So I just want to give you guys options. And then there's always the option of regular Shavasana. Simple is sometimes the best. So please set your timers so you get 20 minutes of Shavasana. And namaste. Thank you for being here.